I'm a huge comic book fan, and I'm a Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, IDW, whatever. Uh, but I'm a very big fan of the comic character Miss Marvel, basically because in many ways Miss Marvel was a lot of us growing up. Was the actual comic book fan that got kind of like shunned a bit sometimes, and your parents didn't understand the comics you're reading or the stuff that you're liking, except for this one, the character actually gets the powers. So what does that mean exactly? So this is going to be very spoiler territory because what we're going to be talking about. Hey, there's Swift. Welcome, man. Well, today, well, actually, it's Miss Marvel, but I'm going to be talking about the ending of the series. So I'm just going to let you know that ahead of time, and I'm going to explain what I think it actually means and means for stuff going forward. But we got to preface this with one thing's going to be very important. So the whole original concept idea behind the powers of Miss Marvel were basically that there was this thing that went into the air from the Inhumans, and the it would basically bring out your latent superpowers that were inside of you already. So the original origin of Miss Marvel was basically the Inhumans uh, put this thing in the air that gave her superpowers. Why didn't he do that now? Why didn't he go with the inhuman aspect of it? Well, there's a couple reasons for that. Actually, the first reason is that the Humans as a TV series was a pretty big failure, and probably the biggest failure that Marvel has had to date. And I'm kind of including stuff in there like some of their earlier pre-MCU stuff. Now, that also being said, is the only reason that the Inhumans became a thing in the comics in the way that they became a thing is basically because of one thing, and that is at the time Fox owned X-Men. So Fox owning X-Men meant that Marvel and Fox had a pretty tight rein on X-Men at the time. That Marvel weren't like, yeah, I guess we should promote the X-Men characters. No, although the X-Men were extremely popular, Marvel spent a long period of time in the comics just trying to make Inhumans a thing. It didn't really work, but I'm sure if you watch Agents of Shield, you know all about it. They tried to make the Inhumans pretty much the mutants. That's what they did. They tried to take the Inhuman characters and make them into what the mutants were from the X-Men universe, because they didn't want to promote characters from a company that they know, characters that were owned by another company. Now, however, we are at a point where Marvel owns the X-Men rights again. So there's really no reason to go forward with the whole Inhumans thing, because at the end of the day, the Inhumans portion of it was, it was a ghetto version of what the X-Men was. To just kind of put it that way. I don't like the word ghetto though, but you know what I mean. It was like it was a lesser version. So we got to find out, and the spoilers here, spoilers are literally written there, that it looks like Miss Marvel is a mutant, and mutants have been introduced into the Marvel universe, leading the way to the X-Men coming. We actually get to hear a bit of a stinger from the X-Men music at the near the end of Miss Marvel, the series. So we know now that she isn't an Inhuman, but her bracelet has, and she's not a Jinn like she thought she was. Her bracelet has pretty much unlocked her mutant abilities. It's like, she's a teenager. Her mutant abilities are coming forth, and the same thing happened with the other character, another character on the show as well. He got his mutant powers, when his just after his mom passed. So basically, we now have mutants into the Marvel universe. Which brings us to the ending of the show, because if you watched after the credit sequence, you got to see an appearance by Brie Larson, which is really cool since I am one of the biggest freaking like Captain Marvel fans that you're ever going to meet. I saw the movie twice in the theater, and then I bought the 4K, and I have the gigantic freaking like popcorn like metal tub that has like Brie Larson's Captain Marvel on it. I love Captain Marvel. So and it got people wondering, okay, where is this going with this? Because in the comic book, here's the thing: after she gains her powers, and her powers are different. Her powers are basically like she's stretchy, like Mr. Fantastic, but she can actually like change form. So she initially kind of changes her form to look more like Miss Marvel. She is like most teenagers and even some adults, not comfortable in her own physical form. One of these days, this is moving. This is moving. Like, I may not be gone for another year, 2 year and a half. Entertainment wizard, but this is going way ahead of me. So the first thought, like I got initially, was like, has the power to shapeshift? Has that like came about? But then I thought about it. I don't really think it has. I think what we're seeing here is classic Captain Marvel. So for those that are unaware, there was a few different Captain Marvels. I actually did a video on it that's going up on my Patreon, but I need to edit it more first. I've been working on it for over 2 months. But basically, what it is that there's original Captain Marvel called Captain Marvel. Yeah, I'm not joking. That was kind of his name. So no, Miss Marvel's not Captain Marvel. They're very different characters. But the original Miss Marvel became Captain Marvel. That gets confusing there. But I'm doing I did a whole video on that. So what happens basically is that Captain Marvel gets stuck in what's called like a negative zone. But he has a connection to a guy by the name of Rick Jones. And you've probably heard the name Rick Jones before, whether it's through a Captain America comic book or an Incredible Hulk comic book. Actually, Incredible Hulk Bruce Banner became the Hulk because of Rick Jones. He saves Rick Jones' life and he gets hit with the Gamma Blast and becomes the Incredible Hulk. So anyway, so Rick Jones, who's the sidekick to almost every friggin' Marvel hero, basically, him and Captain Marvel share the same space. So when something big is happening, say there's a big world event or a villain or something comes out, Rick Jones will disappear and Captain Marvel will appear in his place. Rick Jones won't be turning into Captain Marvel. Rick Jones will be going to the place where Captain Marvel was. Well, Captain Marvel takes care of that. Then you put the negative bands. He goes back to the zone, and Rick Jones comes back in there. For a while, they could not share the same space on that plane. One would have to go, and the other one would appear. So I think that's kind of what's happening here in Marvels. We're getting to see Miss Marvel disappear to wherever the hell like Captain Marvel was, and now Captain Marvel is there. So my thoughts, like, and this is just a guesstimate, an early guesstimate after watching the series, which by the way is fantastic. If anybody tells you that Miss Marvel's not a really good show, everybody has their opinion, but they're so wrong. Now she didn't become Miss Marvel. They changed places, and that's the thing. Much like Rick Jones, she swerved out. She kind of popped out, and Captain Marvel came there. So I'd say a part of what the Marvels is going to be is that Captain Marvel and Monica Rambeau are probably going to have to get to where Miss Marvel is right now. Or Miss Marvel's going to plop back. She's going to realize what's going on. She's going to go to Monica Rambeau, and both of those characters are going to have to go to help Captain Marvel. It's going to be one of those things. Basically, I'm pretty sure that there's a big, there's something big that's going on in the universe. It's all leaning down towards, the break in the multiverse, the issues that have happened since Endgame. People are still reeling from that. And the storylines right now are kind of dealing with that, whether it's like Scarlet Witch's PTSD. Hey there, Dustin, and the loss of Vision, the introduction of White Vision, who has the memories but doesn't have the feelings that the regular Vision had. The vilification of Scarlet Witch because she took it in one direction. The true heroism of Spider-Man and sacrifice because he took it in a completely different direction, in that he lost his aunt, and he decided, okay, it's too dangerous for other people to get close to me. So this is spoilers for these movies. You haven't seen them. I'm right up front. He says, okay, don't let anybody remember Peter Parker. I'll just be Spider-Man, which was a huge thing in the storyline. But often, and I think we're going to get this, is that Mary Jane cannot completely forget. Even in the whole like Brand New Day, Mary Jane could never completely forget everything. There's just a connection there. So what we're getting right now is there's about 5 years of people's lives were gone. People died for 5 years, and people were mourning people for 5 years before they came back. The whole blip thing, right? So that's got to affect what's going on right now in the Marvel universe, with some, especially with some of the more established characters. Now, with some of the other newer characters like Miss Marvel, we have characters that can have a bit more levity to them, can be a bit more lighter. And Captain, Miss Marvel's perfect for that. She is a lighter character. She speaks to the comic geek and all comic geeks. She's truly like the character that, and I'll honestly, if you're a comic book fan, you like this character, because this is you. If you this now, if you've ever been a kid that grew up reading comic books and your parents didn't understand, and they didn't get what you were gonna, this was you. This was your reality. Now with Miss Marvel, they got to deal with other things with diversity and stuff like that. That's important because yeah, that's part of the world, and it's part of Captain Marvel, part of Miss Marvel. So regarding this whole kind of like Marvel family, and yes, much like Shazam has a Marvel family. Remember, there's Shazam, there's Kid Shazam, and all that. Remember that? So we're getting that, except we're getting it done better here, because we're getting the chance to establish these characters slowly over time. Monica Rambeau's character got the chance to be established first as a kid, and then as an adult in WandaVision. We got to see Captain Marvel in the film, and Captain Marvel is a much more kind of an OP character, almost an overpowered character, which gives her a kind of basically she draws back. She's not quite human in the same tone that, it's because she's living on an alien planet. That's why we get like different reactions from her. I really want to talk about this, guys. So hopefully you guys are interested and you chat back with me, because this is going to be a short video. I was going to do it pre-tape, but I said, shag it, we're going to do it live. Thanks a lot. I'm a big Deadpool fan too. I know some people say he's overutilized, like kind of like Ghost Gwen, but I don't agree. I really like Deadpool, and Harley Quinn. I like Harley Quinn too. I don't care if people say like, oh, they use her too much. I like it. I enjoy it. I enjoy comics. I enjoy the medium. So Miss Marvel's done. It was 6 episodes. It was really well done, extremely well paced. The music is frigging fantastic, Miss Marvel. And I'm not gonna lie, when we get to the final episode of Miss Marvel, and she finally puts on the suit, she gets the suit from, and it's comic book accurate, by the way. It's a comic book accurate suit. You don't see that all the time, right? Like they're always doing like tweaks and little different like changes to, like, okay, we'll do the comic book character, but we're going to change. We're going to tweak the suit a bit. But Miss Marvel is pretty comic book accurate, and I was so excited about that. And then to like see like interviews with the actress that plays Miss Marvel, and she is like, there's not a lot of acting that has to go into this role for her. She's a young comic geek. I think, what's she, 18? She's a kid, right? Like, well, I'm 51. She's definitely a kid to me, right? She's a kid, and that is a comic geek, and it is so obvious. She knows her stuff too, man. Like, she's not just a comic geek. Like, oh, she read a couple comics. No, she knows her stuff. This is someone that knows that's been much like me, except I've been doing it for a few years more. She's into this stuff. She's reading it, and she was lucky enough to get placed into a position to play a character that truly represents who she is. How rare is that? How freaking rare is that to see that happen? This is the best casting we've gotten out of any Marvel character since Robert Downey Jr. being Iron Man. And I'll stand by that. Like, I'm including Tom Holland and Benedict Cumberbatch. No, Robert Downey Jr. defined what Iron Man was. Like, they were going to go with Tom Cruise. He had like different aspects, but Robert Downey Jr. came in. He nailed it right from the very second that Robert Downey Jr. is on the screen. He is Tony Stark. He is Iron Man. You believe it. And it's the believability of Robert Downey Jr. in the role of Iron Man that really hinges on the rest of this universe working. And that's what happened. And with Miss Marvel, the actress playing Miss Marvel is so good and so believable that it's hard to separate her from her character, much in the same way that for a while it's been hard to separate Robert Downey Jr. from Tony Stark, and that's that can be good and bad. But overall, I think what we're getting out of this is we're going to see a probably a cosmic style adventure with with Monica Rambeau, with Captain Marvel, and with Miss Marvel, and I'm down for that. We're going to start to see the introduction of the X-Men. It'll be interesting to see where they go with it. Like, do they bring in? Well, I guess eventually they're gonna have to bring in Wolverine. Do the recast Wolverine? Well, obviously, they're gonna have to recast Wolverine. Uh, are they going to put it at the early point of X-Men? Are we going to go to the Hellfire Gala era? Are we going to go to Jonathan Hickman's X-Men? Kang the Conqueror. Kang is actually related to Reed Richards. So initially, when Kang was first introduced, he wasn't called Kang, right? He was in an early like an early Fantastic Four comic book, and eventually later on would become Kang the Conqueror. So the guy that you saw in the at the begin at the end of Loki wasn't the my voice going here wasn't the Kang the Conqueror Kang that you're used to. That was a different Kang. That was one of the good because there's very many different iterations of Kang. Ramatut, thank you, Swift. You just gained super cool points for knowing that, by the way. So basically, there's different versions of Kang, but one is this really kind of like merciless conqueror, and that's we're getting eventually to that. So Loki set up like we started to get into the multiverse a bit with Loki. It really came about when we got to Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, Multiverse Madness. Obviously, it's literally multiverse is the name of it. So we're slowly making our way to that big bad again. This time it's Kang. Last time it was Thanos. I think that a lot of people that watch the movies are not always people that read the comics. And that's okay. You don't have to be. But because there's the TV shows too, and not everybody may keep up on those, some people I think at this point are a little confused at the direction that Marvel's going with this. And Secret Wars. So we're looking towards Secret Wars right now. That's what I estimate is what we're coming to. I think Swift would probably agree with me. Is that we're going towards a whole big Jonathan Hickman era, like Kang they'll introduce the Fantastic Four. It won't be more than likely. It's not going to be John Krasinski that's going to be playing Reed Richards. He played an alternate version of Reed Richards because people really like him, and they thought, oh, he'd make a really good Reed Richards. But if they're going to cast a Fantastic Four movie, they're going to want to go a bit younger to for Reed and for them. So they're probably going to have a younger like just became Fantastic Four as opposed to the older kind of like Richards that's into almost to the point of the thinker territory. Yeah, like that's the way I see it. Like because we're getting Thunderbolts, which I think they're changing Thunderbolt Swift to be more like a lot closer to what we got for Suicide Squad. Like I'm not a big fan of that, but I think that that's kind of what they're going to go with, like bad guys doing good stuff, type of thing. For those that don't know, here's a spoiler alert for a comic from back in the 1990s. There's a event that happened called Onslaught, and in Onslaught, Fantastic Four and a whole bunch of people that weren't mutants disappeared into a pocket universe thanks to Franklin Richard, who saved their lives from the character of Onslaught. And going down the Onslaught road, it'd be too much to explain right now. Anyway, so the Avengers were gone. There was no Avengers. So a team came about called the Thunderbolts. They were introduced. They seemed to be super heroic. They were a big, cool team. They had a lot of them had powers that were very similar to some of the Avengers that had gone. They were like a new team. There's like a Giant Man type character. There's a Captain America type character called Citizen V. There was a Wasp type character. Anyway, at the end of Thunderbolts issue 1, they take out their masks and they're bad guys. They're bad guys pretending to be heroes, and it was kept under wraps, like really good. So when you picked up Thunderbolts issue 1 and you got to the end of the story, your mind was blown. You did not see this. This was not something you saw coming. It was something that was hinted at. Like Wizard magazine, it kept it under wraps. I thought Wizard was a big comic magazine at the time. Kept it under wraps. So Thunderbolts became a thing, and eventually some of them would become good. Other ones would stick to evil, and there would be a clash, and there would be changing of the guard throughout the Thunderbolts. We're also getting set up for another team, and that is the Young Avengers. So we have seen a few of these characters come already. Obviously, kind of the some of the characters that we're going to look towards are one's kids, because we're going to probably see a more teen version of them. They're the remember when Falcon and Winter Soldier came on. So there's an episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier where Falcon goes to see this guy that yeah, maybe Clint. I think we'll get Clint as a definitely for in a mentor role. I think that's what we're gonna get. Well, obviously Ironheart's coming with the new like Black Panther movie, but so basically there's an episode of Winter Soldier, well, Falcon Winter Soldier, where he goes and he sees the guy that they experimented on to for the super soldier forum serum, and the kid that answers the door, that's his grandfather. That kid is a hero. He becomes a hero. So you're gonna like you'll see him. He's gonna get he's getting the hero upgrade basically. Yelena, the new Black Widow, definitely we're gonna see in the Young Avengers as well. Patriot, thank you. See, I'm horrible with the names today, man. It's kind of hot here, but this is gonna be my excuse. So Swift, you're my wingman. So yeah, he'll be Patriot, and we're gonna eventually see these. I'm sure we're going to see the Hulkling come in to all of this as well. I haven't seen Thor yet, so I'm not quite sure if they've introduced any characters from from the Young Avengers into Thor. But every movie and TV show has had a wink or a nod towards a Young Avenger. They're definitely leading up to Young Avengers. That's the reason when they say they're not doing the Avengers again, they're not like going back in and making a new Avengers team. That's kind of the reason they are, but they aren't. They're doing kind of a Young Avengers team. They'll have the Thunderbolts team. I kind of thought they were going to might have called them Dark Avengers, but I'm glad they went Thunderbolts. Secret Invasion would be a great place to introduce Hulkling, actually. Because unfortunately, Swifty can't do, unless maybe, I don't know if they could fit it into She-Hulk somehow. It'll be hard because we're going to get like Hulk in She-Hulk. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I like the upgraded like look of She-Hulk now as opposed to before. People find it hard to get used to the She-Hulk look. Like when it came out, people said, "Oh, she looks like the Shrek character." It was Fiona, right? But She-Hulk isn't the Hulk. She's not like just the female version of the Hulk. She's this. She's much more this. See, She-Hulk is much more this. So you see Deadpool, not psychotic, but very break the third wall, referential, comedic character with action put in there. The definitive run for me for She-Hulk is definitely John Byrne. I think John Byrne did an amazing job on the character of She-Hulk. So She-Hulk is supposed to be leaner and sexier and smoother. She's not supposed to have the grizzled, overtly muscular look for She-Hulk. Yeah, me and you, Swift, are on the same page when it comes to this. Like Dan Slott did a decent run. Peter David did his run on She-Hulk as well. Peter David did the Hulk extremely well, breaking the fourth wall. Did I say third wall? Didn't I? Yeah, I told you, man. It's one of these days. But it's going to be extremely exciting. People don't know right now exactly where the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going, and that's kind of on purpose. Early on, it was pretty, like to use the term, it was pretty blunt. We knew exactly where it was going. It was going towards the making of the Avengers. It was going towards Thanos, and it's slowly over a series of years. It's amazing to think that happened over a series of years, and it didn't fail. It did. They set up a universe with multiple films in multiple phases over a series of years, and kept it going. So the good thing about right now, about Phase 4, is, the news Phase 4, right, is that Marvel now has Disney Plus, so everything doesn't have to be a one and done film. We can dive a bit like deeper. WandaVision, diving deeper. Loki's incredible, diving deeper. Falcon Winter Soldier. What was a great thing because as nice as it was, I definitely agree. I think that yeah, I agree with the WD part of it as well. But as good as nice it was seeing like Steve give like Sam Wilson the shield, which you knew like that had to happen. Anybody that reads like the comic books, Rick Remender, stuff like that, you know that's where they're going. There's that nice gap in between where we get introduced to John Walker, where we have kind of Sam Wilson reject the shield for a bit, and we get to see him kind of become Captain America, to realize that he doesn't have to replace or be the character, be like who Steve was. He can, you know, America is a huge, amazing, wonderful place with melting pot much like of different people and experiences and ethnicities. And he can take his views and thoughts and ideals from that he's got from Steve, that he's got from growing up, and realize, okay, no, I can be, I don't have to be Steve Rogers' Captain America. I got to be Sam Wilson's Captain America, and we see that by the end of that series, which is fantastic. It's wonderful to see that, and we get to see that Bucky is truly becoming Winter Soldier, and he's starting to like go through there's certain things of grieving and of remorse that he has to go through, and we see him go through that. And I know some people said wanted that stopgap where Winter Soldier becomes Captain America for a short period of time, Cap with the gun. But no, I really don't think so. I think we've really kind of established, and we're really working on establishing the Winter Soldier character. To have him like temporarily take over the Captain America and then like have like Sam Wilson take over afterwards, I think would take away from the character of the Winter Soldier and the way that he's growing, and it would take away from what we've done and seen from Steve and from Sam's relationship as well. So I think they did the right move when it came to that. WandaVision was fantastic. I'm still unsure, and I'm hoping that they change, that we get to see more of Wanda, because I'm a big Scarlet Witch fan, so I don't want to see her go out like that, man. Swift, I know you understand. I know, she's gone through this arc, and some people choose heroism, some people choose villainy. She unfortunately chose the latter. But I'm hoping there's a way to eventually bring her back. I'm not sure if it'll be as a hero or a villain, but I would like to see her get a redemption arc, and that's what I initially thought that Multiverse of Madness was going to be. And Multiverse of Madness flipped the switch on me, flipped the script completely, and didn't become a redemption arc. It became her villain arc, and that was incredible. So we got a lot of stuff to look forward to. The next one coming, She-Hulk. I'm very excited about Agatha Harkness. I got a big crush on the actress who plays Agatha Harkness. I always have for like a long time. So just to see her and she came on the screen, I was a little like fanboy. That's what I was. Because I think she is so amazing. She's so funny, and extremely attractive. It's just, I don't know. Agatha Harkness. That's my jam, man. I like Agatha Harkness. But I'm very excited to see her show, see how that goes, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Obviously, Thor movie came out. I haven't gotten to see it yet. I think that Alan said that Chris Hemsworth's daughter plays Gore's daughter in the movie. So I wasn't quite sure they would go with the Gore, the daughter aspect of it, but interesting to see that they did that. I'm not sure that she could. Well, don't tell me, but because he becomes a God Butcher for a reason. Like, of all the villains that are out there, Gore the God Butcher pretty has a strong basis for doing what he does, much in the same way that Thanos. Like, you can't understand why Thanos is doing as horrible as it sounds, and as misguided as it is. You get it, and when it's a good villain, when it's a well done villain, it's not a black and white scenario. It's not, oh, this person is horrible because they're a villain. Like, it doesn't work that way. when you're a good villain, the key to being a good villain, and I found this out early, when I was doing a play in school. I was doing Othello, and I was playing Iago, and the key, and I couldn't get my head around it for the longest time, and I was going through it, and it was coming up to the time, and I was just trying to practice, and I wanted to do the character right. Iago is it's a really good character actually. I feel like Shakespeare are fantastic, but it had to be along the lines. She-Hulk's the next movie, Razor. Is the next TV show, and that's what I'm most excited about because I'm a huge She-Hulk fan. I like Titania, but I kind of discovered that in order for me to play like a villain, I basically had to understand, not think himself as a villain. I couldn't go in like play Iago and say, oh look, you know, twirl my mustache type thing. No, I had to think, okay, what I'm doing is right, and here's my reasoning for what I'm doing, and that's why I'm doing and making the decisions that I'm making. Much like in Julius Caesar, good comic books. Go to Shakespeare, where Brutus is a villain. He's hands down a villain. I like when we were doing Shakespeare in school in English class. We were asked to write a paper. Why is Brutus an honorable man? And my comeback was he's not, and this is why he's not. I can tell you he thinks he is, but he's not. He's a bad guy. He's not the hero in this story. He's not the hero in his own story. He thinks he is. And any villain, any good villain, thinks they're the hero of their own story. Thanos didn't destroy half the world because, ooh, evil. Gore the God Butcher doesn't become the God Butcher because got to go out there and kill some gods. No, they have a tragic backstory, and they have things that skewer their thoughts and opinions and their views on things, and that's why these characters work. That's what makes these characters work so well. That's also unfortunately why sometimes for some people and some audience members, some of the DC villains don't tend to work as well initially. And when they did the Doomsday character in Batman v Superman, literally what they did is they had like they took Zod and they kind of brought him back as Doomsday, but it doesn't work because with Zod we start to get like a bit of why Zod's doing what he's doing, but they really wanted to go with the pomp and circumstance, so they didn't go too much into like the what we really needed to know. We wanted to connect with the character. So it's a hero or a villain, there's got to be a connection that you can have. You got to be able to see why and where they're going, how this journey is going, and if you feel like you've just got a one-dimensional bad guy, then the rewatchability of the film or the rereadability of the story just doesn't happen. It's that's why when I went to see Man of Steel, I really liked it, and when I bought it, and I tried to watch it again with some of my friends and my cousin, it was harder for me to watch, and which is a shame because I think they casted that movie so well. I mean, I think I'm going to say it. I think Henry Cavill was a good choice, but I just think Zack Snyder wasn't. They needed some good writing behind that. And this is not a DC Marvel thing because DC has done some amazing stuff. If you want to talk about like the start of the comic book universe, like DC started it. Superman, like the original, like Chris Reeves, like that Superman, Batman, 1989, the Dark Knight trilogy. It doesn't have to go into tribalism. You can like Marvel and you can like DC as well. You can have fun with both of them. They're different and they go do things in different directions, but that's okay because sometimes you're in the mood for kind of a lighthearted romp. Sometimes you want something to be a bit more introspective, and sometimes maybe you just want to smash them up, beat them up. Does that make one better than the other? Maybe as a personal preference, yes, but as anything else, I don't think so. It's okay to like them both. I got Marvel and DC. I'm more Marvel because I am, at the end of the day, I'm more street level. That's me in the hood. No, you know what I mean. I relate to characters like Spider-Man was my character, much in the way you see Miss Marvel and like Captain Marvel's her character. Spider-Man was my character. That's the character that I grew up like loving, and eventually, Daredevil, especially when Frank Miller took over Daredevil, really liked and understood the character of Daredevil at that point. It was awesome. It was amazing, awesome. Anyway, I've got your time there for 35 minutes. Thank you so much. Swift, I want to, by the way, thank you for being my wingman for this right here. Everybody that came in and watched, thank you so much. If you hit that like button, I really appreciate it. This again is a just a short video on my thoughts on Miss Marvel and where I think the MCU is going and why I'm extremely excited about it. If you're not a comic reader, that's okay. Just go along for the ride. I think you're going to enjoy yourself. Don't get caught up in like the tribalism of like DC is better, Marvel is better, or anything like that. That's that doesn't help anybody. And enjoy the characters for what they are. There's a lot of fun to be had. And if you're looking at the series She-Hulk and thinking, well, that's Miss Hulk. They just made a female version of Hulk. Then maybe you do need to read some more comics, because She-Hulk's a really older character. Is an older character. But anyway, my name's Aaron. This has been the Call to Comics, and I'm probably going to put a Miss Marvel picture up here because I was doing this live, so I didn't get to do like a thumbnail or anything like that. So we'll get a Miss Marvel picture and put up here afterwards. But either way, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you here again soon. I promise you I'm going to stop rambling. And I'll next week, I think Tuesday or Wednesday, we should have a big unboxing to do right here. And that unboxing, my friends, will be called a cinema. So see you soon.